Welcome to Small Practice Support information session number 79. In this recording, Mary Clunan of Marketing Clever talks to Justin Purcell about digital marketing strategies and tips.
You're all very welcome. Small Practice Information Session 79. I'm digital marketing strategy and tips with Mary Clunan today. So we'll take any questions on the chat. And Mary, you're very welcome. I suppose to open the session, and I'll just pull down my screen here now. To open the session, I'd just like to, does digital marketing really matter in this sort of professional services business? Because, you know, I get all my referrals from people I know. And do I really need a digital presence? Does it have any factor to play? I understand in consumer marketing it might do, but in professional services marketing?
And I suppose I would always say it does, Justin. Of course, I would say that, but I really think it does because the way we find information has changed, particularly since the pandemic. We're all on our phones, we're Googling, we're searching, we're trying to find recommendations. And even in professional services, I see it on a daily basis. You know, I would talk to firms that would say, look, I always get my referrals through clients. Clients give me a recommendation, they talk to their peers, they say I'm brilliant, and therefore the work comes in that way. But in very real terms, what's actually happening, and I've had this experience myself, I would get an email out of the blue from a managing partner of a 5-partner firm 2 years ago. I remember this particularly because it stayed with me. And he literally said, Mary, can you come and talk to us about marketing for professional services? And I went in and I met him and I met the partners. And I said, Dominic, how did you find me? How did you actually decide to engage with me? Because we don't know each other, we'd never met. And he said, oh, I Googled marketing for professional services, Mary, and you popped up. And then I searched your name on LinkedIn and I saw you were connected to a couple of other managing partners who I know. And I checked with them if you were okay, if you had your head screwed on. And they said, yeah, absolutely engage away there, get on with it. And I kind of forgot about you then for a while. And then you popped back up. You were doing something with the Chartered Institute. You popped back up again. I went back onto LinkedIn and I saw you were writing about marketing for professional services. And that's when I sent the email. So I find that more and more in professional services, and I'm finding my clients are telling me that that's the journey, because you'll have certain partners would say website is super for driving traffic. And I actually really would look at a website, LinkedIn, Google My Business Reviews, all as a validation point. And just on that, Justin, like Google My Business, again, very consumer focused originally when it was set up. Google are continuing to refine their offering. It's a really important tool for us to use in professional services because number one, clients want to find out where we're based. They want to see can they get to us. I had the experience myself yesterday going to a client office who I hadn't engaged with before. I'm checking if there's parking. I'm checking what does the outside of the office look like when I'm driving down the street so I can get in there. And I'm seeing the Google reviews there. So that gives me comfort. I mightn't read them in detail, but it gives me comfort that other people have thought enough about this firm to engage with them and give them a good Google review.
So just to ask a quick question, if I'm a practitioner out there at the moment and I don't have Google business or I don't have a Google presence or what should I do? What's the best way of going about it?
So it's a free tool from Google. It's available to everybody. Anyone can have it at all. It's once you're a business, Google will allow you put in your details and map in where you're based. It will then send a validation postcard to that with a code on it. And therefore you put your Google review listing live on that. Now, it's a really important funnel for us because again, Google is moving in a way like Google owns search online. And the more we use Google tools for our firms, the more allocation of branding points, if you like, in terms of SEO juice, Google sees. Google likes to see us using the tools. One of the tips I would give to clients and say to make sure you have a link to the direction link on your website, or if somebody's coming to your office, make sure you're getting to use that. Because every time somebody uses the map tool to drive to the Law Society, say, Justin, again, that's Google seeing it's being used, seeing it's being engaged, and it helps influence search engine optimization, which is important for us in terms of making sure we're found for the right terms.
And do you have to pay for this or?
No, there's no cost involved in doing this at all. It's just a matter of getting it set up. What I would say to clients, and I literally said this to it, and I exactly like this to a client yesterday, is, you know, they have fabulous reviews from clients on their websites, which is great. It's a really good level of comfort to us when we see good reviews in place. But if we can capture those reviews on using the Google My Business review form, it in turn gives people comfort that it's an independent source of those reviews. So the user will get greater comfort from the point of view that it's there on Google. And that in turn can be used on a website, can be used on proposals, pitches to clients, etc. So it's a really useful mechanism to capture them and then to use them on an ongoing basis as we engage with people in the marketplace.
Should I be prompting my happy clients to put up a testimonial, or should I be putting these up myself?
Well, I would encourage people, if you're going to go to the bother of asking your client to give you a testimonial, what I tend to do myself is saying, look, we've done that piece of work. Great to get feedback. You be clever about who you ask. Make sure that you engage with them and ask them to give you the review on the Google review form. You can do that. Now, most people can do that. It's a very straightforward exercise. And once you have it there, it's allowing you have it on your Google My Business review forever. And in turn, you can use that in other sources as well, in terms of website, pitch, etc.
And just while we're talking about Google My Business at the moment, is there other tools within that I should be updating or
what I would say to us, really, no more than the example we talked about, just in terms of somebody looking for a recommendation, think about the journey that your prospect goes on when they're engaging with you. So I would say what I say regularly to clients is think about the empty chair that's in front of your desk and think about your ideal client sitting in that chair and what do they want to see and get comfort from you. So I would say from a digital marketing point of view for professional services firms who are normally very stretched in resources and don't have a whole lot of time to do this, I would say to you, your Google My Business listing is really important to you. Your LinkedIn profile is really important to you because this is what, again, no more than that managing partner when he was looking for me, he checked me out on LinkedIn. He saw who I was connected to. He saw I was commenting on marketing for professional services, et cetera, et cetera. So he got comfort from that. So I would say if you're time pressed and resource poor, as many professional services firms are, gather your reviews on Google My Business. Make sure your website is sharp and is speedy, and most importantly, is fully adapted to mobile. Not just adapted, but created for mobile first, because that's how most people are looking at our websites. I would encourage teams to make sure that all of their teams within the office have a really strong LinkedIn presence, that your firm profile on LinkedIn is strong, and that you're being clever about that. So if there's a post if there's some information that you want to put up, post reasonably regularly on LinkedIn to make sure you're getting that engagement and making sure you're using it as a tool. But if you go to the bother of creating a post, and I've had a number of clients in the last week talking to me about the sick pay changes coming up the line, if you're going to the bother of creating that post, make sure you use that post then, not only on LinkedIn for an individual level, but I would say use it firstly on the firm profile on LinkedIn and get it out through there. And then get your team to share that post then as a return, but then also to use it on the Google My Business listing, because Google is moving and morphing into a social media, a social channel greatly. So not only is there an opportunity to post reviews there, but you as the owner of your Google My Business listing can share updates on that. Now that's a really handy thing to do because you've already created the post, you're using it on LinkedIn, you may as well use it on the Google My Business listing too. And again, the more we do that, the more Google likes us. It's really good for our SEO and always making sure that it's linked back to our website. So we're constantly trying to reinforce that circle.
And just on that note of sending out communications and messages and just using a little bit of jargon with regards to sort of just solicitor and practitioners around unique selling propositions, and how do they differentiate themselves from the other people who might be on this call who sell general services or in the town or a village or city that they're operating out of? Do you have any thoughts on, you referred to sort of the empty chair and trying to get the perfect clients, but how can I just get a message out there that's different to what everybody else is saying?
Well, I would say, and what I would say to practitioners is to really make sure that you're focused on the market you're looking for. The market has moved a lot in the last 10 years. So we see an awful lot of practitioners are moved to a state of really focusing on industry segments, industry sectors. So I think that's really important for us to look at that. It's a really handy, quick way to get to a narrow segment. I always encourage, like when I set up my own business, you can do marketing for any type of a B2B organization, but I like professional services. I've worked in a number of them. I know a lot of people in the sector, so I focused on that. So if you segment your market, it's very hard to be everything to everybody, but if you can segment your market to a degree, it allows you focus on those particular areas. And different individuals in a firm can focus on different areas. That's absolutely fine. But if you can focus on a narrow segment, it allows you go narrow, but go deep. And what I like about sectors in particular is it allows you find other industry bodies that you can push your message out through. It's other publications that you can put your name to and add content to. So that's kind of what I would really encourage, Justin. If we're really serious about market development, industry niches are really critical, but divide up your market in some way. You can't be everything to everybody. So it can be a service niche or it can be an industry niche. I like industry in particular because there's associations and there's groups and there's trade press. So it allows you to get a little bit closer to your prospects.
So just on that, there's a question there, like, what about TikTok? And just for people out there, like, TikTok is a channel as a and has a particular target audience, which I would suggest is quite young.
I would have the same thought. I would have the same view, Justin. And again, look, this is going to change as we all get more grey hair. But my view on TikTok right now is, what I would say to you is your ideal client on TikTok with a view of looking for an advisor, or are they there for a bit of entertainment? Like, I'm on TikTok, but I'm there for a bit of entertainment. I'm not necessarily looking for hardcore advisory pieces in that. That's not to say that that's not going to change in the coming years. I remember a number of years ago, a friend of mine works in one of the hotel groups, and I really like the Sunday Business Post in terms of pushing out content and commercial features, etc. I think it's a really good paper for B2B audiences. He's in the hotel game. He's in a different business. He was saying to me, like, what do you use? And I really like the Sunday Business Post. And he said, well, look, I'm going to try it. And I met him a couple of months later, and he said, I tried it. And he said, it didn't work for me, because he said, my view is that people who are looking for a hotel break or that in that space are not in the frame of mind when they're reading the Sunday Business Post. So I think about TikTok in a very similar way. I think you need to make sure that our empty chair, our ideal target audience sitting in that chair, and number one, are they on TikTok? And if they are on TikTok, are we going to be able to cut through the cute kittens and the dogs that are doing tricks to get traction? And if you can do that as a firm, fair play to you. I haven't seen it done overly successfully just yet.
Yeah. So just then on that B2B online or marketing professional services. So you've mentioned Google My Business. What other platforms would you suggest as being user-friendly for this type? So you've mentioned LinkedIn. Are there others?
I think there's a few others, but it depends on who you are. So for instance, if I would say to you, think about where your ideal target audience is. So again, the legal profession is one of my target audiences. Like, we're chatting today, there'll be content going out, etc. So how can you put your content in front of your target audience through a particular group? So think about where they're circulating. The other area to think about as well, and some people don't like it, but pay-per-click advertising through Google is an interesting mechanism for kind of reaching prospects if you're finding somebody searching on a particular topic. And it can be a useful way of building a bit of head of steam in a particular issue. What I would say about pay-per-click, though, is certainly use experts. I know this stuff reasonably well. I wouldn't even attempt to do my own ads, because this stuff is changing every day. You need somebody that's really on top of their game when it comes to pay-per-click. So I think that's really, really useful. The other aspect, really, Justin, is your website is critical. And making sure that your website is on the email signatures you're pushing out there, making sure that when there's content that you're pushing out on LinkedIn or other social media platforms, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or whatever you're using, and make sure the link is back to your website on an ongoing basis. And like that, they're the cornerstones. And then it's a matter of making sure that we're reaching our targets in the real world, and giving them comfort and validation points in the digital world, that they're saying, yeah, no, I'm talking to the right person. And I think that's kind of really...
Well, I think it's also worth making the point, like, there's two jobs here. One is creating awareness, and then the other is converting it into a sale of sorts.
Completely.
And so TikTok may create awareness amongst a particular target audience, and that's fine, and that may be what you're trying to achieve. But really, are they being converted into saleable prospects? And I know that one of the comments there around Richard Grove, and that's a fact. And yes, he has generated a huge amount of awareness online, and it's around a particular segment, and it may be of use. But I wonder whether it's if you're trying to sell family law services, or you're trying to sell conveyancing or wills or other things, whether that's a suit, or is that the only way you should be going about trying to generate awareness? I think it's I suppose it's a moving feast. It's developing over time, but I think LinkedIn is probably a more appropriate channel. Google Business, your website, blogs, posts, etc., and aligning yourself with industry industry groupings is probably will be more successful in my experience. I'm not too sure, Mary, whether you agree with that or not, or whether you've frozen on us. You're back, Mary.
Sorry, Justin. The storm is getting the better of me.
I was talking TikTok and whether it's an appropriate channel. It may generate awareness, but will it generate conversions? So,
And I think, and I suppose I'm not saying no to TikTok, but I'm just saying I find that resources tend to be really limited in professional services firms. At the end of the day, if you're going to do something on TikTok, you're going to have to create really engaging content. It has to be video. It has to be fun. It has to be frequent. Do you have the energy for that? Mm-hmm. Or is creating some content I'm finding, like, I hate this term low hanging fruit, but I think it's a time where we might actually have to use it. Is there quicker, easier prospects to convert?
Yeah. And maybe it's as in a marketing plan, it's one execution, because just talking about Richard for a second, he's on the radio, he's in newspapers, he's on TV, he's on LinkedIn, he does a regular post. So he has a whole range or suite of PR or marketing awareness programs, of one of which is TikTok, and it definitely has generated
what I will say, if you go to the bother of creating a piece of content, and I've seen Richard out there, if you go to the bother of creating a piece of content, you have to sweat that piece of content and use it across as many channels as you possibly can. So one of the areas I would say, I find this myself, I'm a very typical, the cobbler's children have no shoes. I said to myself, I'm really going to try and create some content this year, and I'm going to try and get a bit of content out there on my website every month. So, but I don't have a whole lot of time for writing. So one of the tips I would say, Justin, is it's really important to use external resources, and, not necessarily no cost, but very, very low cost external resources. So, there is loads of great resources around us that once become aware of, like there's a group called the Indie List, an Irish group of freelancers that there's loads of fabulous copywriters there. But there's others online as well. Fiverr is an agency I use online. It's a global group of freelancers. And I use them myself from time to time just to help me do a bit of copy. So, I have a topic to write about. I will throw it into a voice message. I will send it off, and a piece of content comes back once I've given them a decent brief. So, professionals are busy, they're chargeable. These are guys that can earn fees talking to clients. We don't necessarily want a whole lot of time invested in marketing, but we want to be clever about the time we do invest. So there is tools and prompts out there for us to use in the marketplace that can help us bring our story to life. But I definitely say sweat the assets. If you go to the bother of creating something for your LinkedIn post, make sure you get it onto Google, get it onto all your social media channels that you're involved with as well. Because, legal professionals don't have the time to be doing this. Just so be clever and cute about what you are doing.
So do you want to repeat that, just that freelance network?
Yeah, so there's a couple of freelance networks. The Indie List is an Irish one, the INDIE List. And then there's another one called Fiverr, FIVERR. So again, for feeble resources don't have the time to spend a day writing an article. We need 10 minutes to come up with the article substance and structure, and to push it on from there. So there's an article, I've written something recently on my own website, Justin. There's a link to a number of other kind of freelance hubs on that. So you might, maybe we can share
I'll pull up that link now. Yes. So do we want to move on? So what is your view on regular posting then? So you've created some content, or I'd also say you need to get out there and start scouring what everybody else is doing. You can learn an awful lot from what other people are doing, and you should be reading what they're doing, both 100%. Domestically, internationally, UK, and then maybe in the US as well. Sign up to regular posters
and I think
and get ideas. Yeah,
you'll get ideas, and just be aware that culturally we are very different from some of the international markets. So not everything is going to transfer too easily, but certainly have an awareness and a look and see what's happening out there. And you don't have to read hundreds and hundreds of emails. What I would suggest is you follow them on social media, follow them on LinkedIn, on Twitter, wherever tools you want to use yourself and you're comfortable with, and follow them and see what's happening out there. And just use the tools that are available. Like there's other tools that are handy just as well, just to say to people, if they're going to go to the bother of creating a post without a visual is not going to catch a whole lot of attention on social media. So use visuals, ideally use video if you can. And there is certainly low cost and no cost solutions for video online. And again, it's in that there's an article there. There's links to a couple of them. There's loads out there. I use a tool called Lumen 5 a good bit, which I like, just to create some little videos and little awareness. Because again, think about your reader, your viewer, the ideal client. They're busy individuals, and we have very poor attention span, more so now than ever post-pandemic. So when we're scrolling through LinkedIn, a piece of content has to have a visual at a minimum, but a video would be ideal. And again, there's sources there. There's a website I use frequently myself called Unsplash, where you can get free visuals, free photographs from that. And it's just handy to give a bit of life to your post and try and gain a bit of attention.
What about how regular do you think people should be posting?
I think it depends on what time they have themselves to do posting. I would encourage firms to be thinking about doing a post maybe once a week on LinkedIn. And the ideal days to post on LinkedIn are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So don't worry about Monday or Friday. But Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the morning, ideally. And like, it doesn't have to be a huge big essay. It's a short post. If you're really stuck for content and there's something that's breaking, think about how you could take content or use a link from another content source, a media source. So say, for instance, there was a sick pay change recently. You can find that piece of content in the Irish Times or the Irish or RTE website, link that and put literally a two-sentence comment on top of that and post that out, because all you're trying to do here is create awareness that you're aware of what the issues are happening, and you're posting a comment out about that. So say, for instance, sick pay one, I've seen firms do this. They literally take the link from the Irish Times or the RTE, and literally, this is a pending change is going to happen. The issue will be cost for employers. So that's plenty. Just we don't need big essays here. It's just literally reminding your target audience that you exist. And again, it's just to keep the name out there.
I think there is a content platform called Legal RSS.ie. Just somebody, Michael, just made me aware of it there as well. So if you do need content, and I'll stick it up there on the platform as well. It's just if you're looking for access to regular content. So then the reviewing of your analytics, or have we got there too early and we should do more work around creating content first?
What I would say to you is, if you're wondering about your website, if you're curious as to whether your website is working for you or not, there's a really useful website called neilpatel.com. And you can put in your URL for your website and pop it into that, and that will do an audit of your website and give you areas to improve in. So frequently I see firms doing that, and they're getting kind of links back to say there's no headings being used, meta tags are not done, there's no SEO descriptions, photographs are too big to load, etc. So again, we can pop that out afterwards, Justin, if that's okay. It's Neil Patel is the link, and it's a really handy mechanism for checking how your website is doing overall.
NEILPATEL?
NEILPATEL.com.
Okay, I'll stick that out there now. Yeah.
Pop
So
that
that's a
out.
good one. What's the purpose of that? Sorry, I just missed
So
that.
what you're doing with that, if you're curious as to how your website is performing, because I frequently meet professionals and they tell me, our website's super, it's doing really well, we're number one in the Google rankings. Yeah, but I would say to you, clear your cache, clear the history, clear all your cookies. Are you still number one? But if you don't want to bother clearing your history and doing all that, because a lot of people want to save their passwords and save cookies, etc., use this website as a mechanism to give you a really strong view as to how your website is performing. It checks for speed, how the website is structured, is it mobile first, how useful and how Google will review the content of your website. So it's a handy mechanism to do a quick audit of your website. I'm not suggesting that you start making changes to your website yourself. I would really say to you, leave that to the experts, but it'll give you a good, honest view of their website. And an independent view, and it's not just your view. So it's an independent view of your website. It won't cost you anything. It's very straightforward to use. So it's a good resource for people to test how their website is performing. I do it myself. On my own website, and it reminds me to change SEO content. It reminds me to change headings, visuals, etc., etc. So it's a useful mechanism to have.
So you made a point there about clearing cache. Do you want to just talk us through that one? How do you actually do that?
So it's literally now I'm a Mac user, but it's literally a case of clearing the history on your search history. So if you go into your Google URL, it'll allow you in your settings to clear your search history. Because what happens in reality is when you have open your Google screen on your own PC or your own phone, it will remember what you searched before because you're accepting cookies as you go. So if you clear that cache, it will allow you to get a more holistic view as to how people are finding you. And what I would say to people is search your own name. So just for instance, go back to the earlier example, Justin. Say you gave me an example. I was looking for advice for a legal issue I have. And you were saying on this particular issue, you said, no, talk to John Smith Associates. The first thing I will do is I will Google the name. I will Google the firm name. I will look them up on LinkedIn. I'll check them in Google News Alerts to see if there's any stories about them. So if you think about it from the point of view of your prospect that doesn't know anything about you, they don't know you're a super solicitor, they don't know any of that. All they know is my friend has given me this recommendation. Now, what do I think and what do I see? So people do make judgments about how people look online, what information is there about them, are they quoted in other press, in other industry press, etc. So it's all of that journey the prospect makes for you. And that's the reason why we're talking about digital marketing at all. We want to be focused on making sure that if clients give you a recommendation and that person who's got the recommendation does a search, what do they find? And do they get a comfort from what they find to go, yeah, Justin was right to tell me to go to John Smith Associates. I will make the contact now.
So just we're moving into the last 5 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, we'll take them on the chat. But just regards to Google News Alerts, are they another source of potential?
Yeah, I like Google News Alerts.
And how do they work? Just for the other.
I will tell you. I will tell you how they work. So what you will literally land in your home screen for Google, and there's a little number of little boxes at the top of your screen. If you go into one of those, it is literally Google News. It's called Google News, and that captures all of the news information, if you like, from various different media outlets around the world. So it's a very handy mechanism. So say, for instance, we wanted to search a firm name to see if they're coming up. It's a handy mechanism to search that. But what I find clients are using it for is they're using it, you can set an alert. So you can say, if I find ABC Limited coming up in the news, send me an alert because I want to know about it because they're a client of mine. And I've seen this with clients that have clients of mine who have large clients of their own in terms of different groups and different PLC groups. They want to stay on top of the news and want to stay on top of what's happening with them so that should anything arise, or that they'll be able to assist and help them if they need it. So it's a handy mechanism for doing that. And the other thing I'd say about it is, if you specialize in a particular area, whether it's employment law or whatever it is, it's a handy mechanism to find out what competitors are saying, what other firms are saying about this issue, or what the media are saying. Is there something coming up that we need to be aware of?
And just as we move into the last sort of 2 minutes, do you want to just go back over this marketing checklist that you talked about?
Sure, absolutely, because I think it's something that comes up all the time. What I would say to people is think about how you're viewed as your prospect. So again, I've gotten the recommendation from you, Justin. What is the action after that from somebody who knows nothing about your legal firm? So it's the Google My Business listing. It's really important for us. What we want to use our Google My Business listing for is to make sure it's live and validated. We want to make sure we're mapped in correctly into the right location that your business is based at. We want to start gathering reviews. There's a form, there's a little link in that you can send to your clients to say, we'd love to have your feedback, live link there, and they can put their feedback in there. We want to put the hours of what hours you keep. And I suppose the other thing to think about as well is like some pictures of staff, and to use that Google My Business listing as you would think about LinkedIn. So if there's a post you're putting up, make sure you pop it into that as well, so that you're using the Google tool as much as you can. There is no cost for this. It's only just literally the time it takes to pop that link up in place. The other thing I'd say to you is post on a regular basis to whatever your social channel is. I personally like LinkedIn because, again, from a B2B point of view, but think about what works best for you and post on a regular basis. Again, even if you're not getting business from LinkedIn, if I Google your name, I'm most likely to find you on your firm website, and the second listing I find will be on LinkedIn. So it's important that you look well connected and have good information there. And make sure good contact information there as well. So it's really, really important to do that. Again, I won't get into huge details, but directories and background directories. Google My Business listing is a directory. Yelp is a directory. Chamber listings are directories. Local regional listings are directories. So anywhere you can get your website link out there, it's good for SEO. It's good to have backlinks in place. So as much of that as you can possibly do. If you're going to do pay-per-click advertising, make sure you use experts. And again, your website, that tool that we talked about, Justin, Neil Patel, it's a handy mechanism for just doing a really good audit of your website. And again, professionals, legal solicitors, you guys are really, really busy. Manage your time well on this. So lean outwards and get external help to get some stuff rather than trying to create videos yourself or do anything like that. Go externally for that kind of help. There is loads of really great resources available that are freelancing. They're all busy at the moment, you'll find, because again, an awful lot of people a lot of businesses are taking this area really seriously, but have it on your list. If some people are leaving the call today, Justin, and they're saying, well, right, what will I do? I would say make 2 or 3 priorities on your own list. What's important to you? and just do those. Just do 2 or 3 things, because what happens frequently in professional services, we want to do the 17 things we've learned and we want to do them all next week, and we're trying to take on too much. And again, you guys are billable, feeable. You're going to prioritize doing feeable work. So if you picked 2 or 3 things to do on a weekly basis, that's plenty to start with, and you'll get some comfort out of the fact that you've started.
Listen, Mary, thanks a million. I suppose the other point to make is that this is a continuous process, so it's not one point in time and then we move away from it and it all gets resolved. It's
really important, Justin. It's a really important point, because I think a lot of us think, if the website done, it's fine, it's over now, I can move on to my real world and do my work. It is a continuous process. If your website's done and it's fabulous, it's not going to get seen unless you're driving individuals to it. So think about your website as on the top of a shopping center where there's no footfall past it. So it's really important from a social perspective and a Google perspective that you're trying to drive people onto that website. So no matter how fabulous it is, if no one's going there, it's no good to you.
Brilliant. Listen, Mary, we're out of time, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Quick point from Michael. He says that local radio will do videos for you and do it right, but you need a site first. So I've just put up there for the last minute or two the up and coming sessions. Next week, we're going to be talking further about digital automation with John from Signigraphy, who was on with us last week. And then in the following 3 weeks, that we have got a cybersecurity series from the Technology Committee, and they will be talking about all the risks around cybersecurity. So you can see them listed there. And then on the 23rd of March, we've got John Durkin from Enterprise Ireland talking about the government's digital strategy on how to get more people using or the possibilities around digital from a legal perspective. And then I'm joined by John from he's going to be talking about new ways of working from Gibson and Associates. So we're really looking forward to that as well. So thanks everyone for joining us today. We're out of time. Thanks, Mary. You're a great sport. Slán.
Thanks, Justin. Good luck.
Bye.